My sister's bridal shower excluded me, with a note, "Immediate family only." I'd gifted the venue, so I rebooked it for a personal event, leaving them scrambling for a new location. I, 32M, never thought my own sister would treat me like a stranger, but here we are. The invitation arrived 3 weeks before her bridal shower. Cream cardstock, gold lettering, the whole 9 yards. My fiancée opened it while I was making coffee. She went quiet in that way that meant something was wrong. When I asked what it said, she just handed it to me without a word. The guest list was extensive. Cousins I barely remembered. High school friends my sister hadn't spoken to in years. Her future mother-in-law and her entire book club. But my name was conspicuously absent. Instead, there was a small note paper-clipped to the invitation, handwritten in my sister's looping script. It said the shower was for immediate family only, and while they appreciated my support, they needed to keep the event intimate. I read it twice. Then I checked the guest list again. 43 names. Immediate family only. My fiancée asked if I was okay. I told her I was fine, but we both knew I was lying. The venue listed on the invitation was the Riverside Estate, a boutique event space overlooking the water. I knew it well because I'd paid the deposit 6 months ago as an early wedding gift. $5,000 to secure the date, plus another $3,000 for the rental fee. My sister had been stressed about wedding costs, and I wanted to help. She'd hugged me when I told her, said I was the best brother anyone could ask for. Apparently, that sentiment had an expiration date. I called her that evening. She answered on the 4th ring, her voice bright and distracted. I asked about the bridal shower invitation, specifically about the note. She went silent for a moment, then launched into an explanation about how Mom thought it would be better to keep things small and manageable. Just the women in the family, really. She said it wasn't personal. I asked her to define immediate family, given that 43 people were invited. She stumbled over her words. Said most of those were her future in-laws and that Mom wanted to include them to build relationships. I asked where I fit into that equation. She said I wouldn't enjoy it anyway since it was mostly wedding talk and feminine bonding. I reminded her I'd paid for the venue. She said she knew and appreciated it. But this was about what Mom wanted for her special day. Not her day. Mom's day. I told her I understood and ended the call. My fiancé asked what I was going to do. I said I didn't know yet, but I'd figure something out. The next morning, I contacted the Riverside Estate. The woman who managed bookings remembered me. She asked how the wedding planning was going. I told her there had been a change of plans and I needed to discuss the reservation. She pulled up the contract. My name was on it as the primary renter. My card had paid the deposit. The event was scheduled under my account, with my sister listed as the point of contact for day of coordination. I asked what would happen if I wanted to cancel or modify the booking. She explained their cancellation policy. Since we were still outside the 30-day window, I could cancel with a 50% refund or transfer the booking to a different date or purpose. I asked about rebooking it for a personal event on the same day. She said that was absolutely possible since I held the contract. I thanked her and said I'd call back. My fiancée thought I should just let it go. She said causing problems would only make family gatherings awkward. I asked her how she'd feel if her brother excluded her from something major and then acted like it was no big deal. She admitted she'd be hurt, but said revenge wasn't the answer. I told her it wasn't revenge. It was a boundary. 3 days later, I called the Riverside Estate back. I informed them I wanted to keep the booking but change the event purpose. Instead of a bridal shower, it would be an engagement celebration for my fiancé and me. We'd been engaged for 8 months and hadn't done anything official. This seemed like the perfect opportunity. The manager said that was wonderful and made the changes. I asked her to remove my sister as the point of contact and add my fiancé instead. She updated the system and confirmed everything was set. The booking was now under our names for our engagement party on the same date and time my sister had planned her shower. I didn't tell anyone right away. I wanted to see how long it would take for someone to notice. 2 weeks passed. My sister called asking if I could pick up some decorations for the shower since I lived closer to the party supply store. I told her I was busy that weekend. She said it wasn't a big deal and she'd figure it out. Her tone was light, unbothered. Like excluding me had been such a minor thing that we'd already moved past it. 10 days before the shower, my mother called. She asked if I was upset about not being invited. I told her I was, but I understood she wanted to keep things intimate. She seemed relieved that I wasn't making it a big issue. She said my sister was already stressed enough with wedding planning and didn't need family drama. I agreed that drama was the last thing anyone needed. 1 week out, my sister posted about the shower on social media. She shared a photo of the invitation with a caption about celebrating with her favorite people at a gorgeous venue. The comments flooded in, friends saying they couldn't wait, her future mother-in-law posting heart emojis, mom commenting about how proud she was. I didn't say anything. 5 days before the event, my sister called the venue to confirm final details. That's when everything unraveled. The manager told her there must be some confusion because the booking was for an engagement party, not a bridal shower. My sister insisted there was a mistake. The manager pulled up the account and confirmed that I, the person who held the contract, had changed the event purpose 3 weeks ago. My sister called me immediately. She was crying, asking what I'd done and why. I explained calmly that the venue was booked under my name, paid for with my money, and since I wasn't immediate family according to her standards, I decided to use it for something else. She said I was ruining her bridal shower. I pointed out that she'd ruined it herself when she excluded me. She begged me to change it back, said people were already planning to attend and she'd sent out invitations. I asked if she'd considered how I felt when I received that note telling me I wasn't immediate family enough to attend. She said that was different. I asked how. She couldn't answer. Mom called next. She was furious, accusing me of being petty and childish. She said I was punishing my sister for a decision she'd made, and that I should be ashamed. I asked her why she'd wanted me excluded. She said it wasn't about excluding me, but about creating the right atmosphere for the shower. I asked what atmosphere required 43 people, but couldn't accommodate one more. She said I wouldn't understand because I wasn't a woman. I told her that was a convenient excuse and ended the call. My sister tried a different approach. She showed up at my apartment the next day. She looked exhausted, her eyes red from crying. She asked if we could talk. I let her in. She sat on my couch and told me she was sorry. Said she should have fought harder to include me, but Mom had been insistent about keeping it to women only. I pointed out that several male relatives were on the guest list, including our teenage cousin and our uncle. She admitted Mom had made exceptions for certain people. I asked why I wasn't one of those exceptions. She said she didn't know. I told her the truth hurt less than the lies. She nodded and wiped her eyes. Then she asked what it would take for me to give back the venue. I asked what it would take for her to genuinely want me at her wedding events. She said she did want me there. I asked why the bridal shower invitation said otherwise. She had no answer. The silence stretched between us. Finally, she said she'd find another venue and left. My fiancé asked if I felt better. I told her I felt tired. She said we could cancel our engagement party if I wanted to smooth things over. I appreciated the offer, but declined. We'd already sent invitations to our friends. Besides, my sister had options. She could find another venue. She just didn't want to admit she'd made a mistake. 4 days before the original date, my sister posted on social media again. She announced the bridal shower had been moved to a restaurant across town. The new venue was smaller and less elegant, but she tried to spin it positively. She said sometimes changes led to better outcomes. The comments were supportive, but I could read between the lines. People were confused about the sudden switch. Mom stopped speaking to me entirely. She told other family members I'd sabotaged my sister's shower out of spite. Some of them reached out to ask my side. I explained what happened. Most were sympathetic. A few thought I'd overreacted. I accepted both responses. The day of our engagement party arrived. The riverside estate was beautiful. The weather cooperated with clear skies and a gentle breeze off the water. My fiancé looked stunning. Our friends filled the space with laughter and warmth. It was everything I'd hoped it would be. My sister's shower happened simultaneously across town. Based on her social media posts, it looked fine. Cramped, but functional. Mom appeared in several photos, smiling tightly. My sister looked happy enough, though I noticed she didn't post any pictures of the venue itself. Update 1. The wedding happened 6 weeks later. I received an invitation, though it arrived 2 weeks after everyone else's. My fiancé noticed the postmark date and pointed out the delay was deliberate. I told her it didn't matter. We'd already decided whether to attend. We went. Not because I'd forgiven my sister, but because I wanted to show I was the bigger person. My fiancé wore a dress that turned heads. I wore my best suit. We brought an expensive gift from the registry, wrapped beautifully. At the reception, Mom ignored me. My sister gave me a brief hug during the receiving line, but didn't make eye contact. Her new husband shook my hand and thanked me for coming. He seemed genuine, which made me wonder how much he knew about the shower situation. During dinner, Several relatives asked about our engagement party. They'd seen photos on social media and said it looked incredible. I thanked them and kept the conversation light. Nobody mentioned the venue conflict directly, but the subtext was clear. Everyone knew what had happened. My sister's maid of honor gave a speech about family and unconditional love. She talked about how my sister always put others first and valued her relationships above everything. I felt my fiancé squeeze my hand under the table. We both recognized the irony. Later, when the dancing started, my sister approached me. She asked if we could talk outside. I followed her to the venue's garden area. The fairy lights cast soft shadows across her face. She looked beautiful in her wedding dress, and for a moment, she was just my little sister again. She told me she'd been thinking about the shower situation a lot. Said she understood why I'd done what I did, even if it had hurt at the time. She admitted she'd let Mom pressure her into decisions she didn't agree with, and that wasn't fair to either of us. She said she was sorry for making me feel like I didn't matter. I asked if Mom had told her to apologize. She said no. This was coming from her, independent of anyone else's influence. She said getting married had made her think about what family really meant, and she didn't want to start her marriage with this wedge between us. I told her I appreciated the apology. I also told her that actions mattered more than words, and I hoped she'd remember this feeling the next time Mom tried to manipulate her decisions. She nodded and said she would. We hugged. It wasn't perfect, and the hurt hadn't completely disappeared, but it was a start. My fiancé and I left the reception early. On the drive home, she asked if I regretted rebooking the venue. I thought about it carefully. The honest answer was complicated. I didn't regret standing up for myself or setting a boundary. I didn't regret showing my sister that excluding me had consequences. But I did regret that it had come to that point at all. I told my fiancé that I wished my sister had been strong enough to include me from the start. She said maybe this whole situation had taught my sister something valuable about standing up for what she believed in. I said maybe. Update 2. 3 months after the wedding, my sister called. She said she and her husband wanted to have us over for dinner. No parents, no extended family, just the 4 of us. My fiancé was skeptical, but I agreed. Their apartment was small, but nicely decorated. My sister had cooked lasagna, my favorite. Her husband opened a bottle of wine. The conversation started awkwardly, everyone dancing around the obvious tension, but eventually found a rhythm. My sister's husband brought up the venue situation directly. He said my sister had told him everything, and he wanted to share his perspective. He said when they'd first started dating, he'd noticed how much my sister bent to Mom's will. He tried to encourage her to be more independent, but old patterns were hard to break. The bridal shower had been a wake-up call for both of them about how much control Mom still had. My sister added that she'd started setting more boundaries with Mom since the wedding. Small things at first, like declining unsolicited advice about furniture placement or dinner plans. Mom hadn't taken it well, but my sister was learning to hold her ground. She said watching me stand firm had shown her it was possible. I told her I was glad something positive had come from the mess. She said she hoped we could move forward. I said I'd like that. We finished dinner and played board games. It was the most normal evening we'd had in years. When my fiancé and I left, my sister hugged me tightly and whispered thank you. I wasn't sure what she was thanking me for, but I accepted it. The relationship with Mom remained strained. She'd occasionally make passive-aggressive comments about my behavior at family gatherings, but I'd learned to let them roll off. My sister started defending me more often, which created its own tension between them. I told her she didn't have to fight my battles, but she said it wasn't about me anymore. It was about her learning to advocate for what she believed was right. My fiancé and I set a wedding date for the following spring. When we started planning, my sister asked if she could help. I was hesitant at first, but my fiancé encouraged me to let her. She said people deserved second chances, especially family. My sister threw herself into helping with wedding preparations. She researched vendors, created spreadsheets, and offered opinions when asked. She never tried to take over or push her preferences. She respected our vision and worked to make it happen. It was a side of her I hadn't seen before, and it went a long way toward rebuilding trust. One afternoon while we were addressing invitations, she brought up the bridal shower again. She said she'd been too ashamed to say it before, but she'd hated every minute of that shower at the restaurant. Not because the venue was inferior, but because I should have been there. She said she'd spent the whole time thinking about how she'd prioritized Mom's approval over her relationship with me, and it had felt hollow. I told her the past was behind us. She said she knew, but she wanted me to understand how much she regretted it. I appreciated the honesty. When our wedding day arrived, my sister was there early to help with setup. Mom came to the ceremony but left the reception early, citing a headache. My sister stayed until the very end, dancing with our friends and making sure everything ran smoothly. During her maid of honor speech, she talked about second chances and the importance of fighting for the relationships that mattered. She didn't mention the bridal shower drama explicitly, but everyone who knew understood the subtext. After our honeymoon, my wife and I had my sister and her husband over again. The dynamic had shifted completely. We were no longer walking on eggshells or avoiding difficult topics. We'd established a new normal built on honesty and mutual respect. My sister mentioned that Mom had asked her why she spent so much time with us now. My sister had told her it was because we treated her like an adult capable of making her own decisions. Mom hadn't responded well, but my sister had held firm. I told her I was proud of her growth. She said she was proud of me for not giving up on our relationship even when she'd given me every reason to. Looking back, rebooking that venue was one of the hardest decisions I'd made. It damaged relationships and created conflict, but it also forced necessary conversations and established boundaries that had been missing for years. My sister learned she could stand up to Mom. I learned my voice mattered. We both learned that real family doesn't exclude people or make them feel less than. The venue situation became a turning point for our entire family dynamic. Not everyone approved of how I handled it, and some relationships never fully recovered. But the ones that mattered grew stronger and more authentic. My sister and I built something better than what we'd had before, and that was worth the temporary pain. Sometimes the hardest thing and the right thing are the same thing. The Riverside estate taught me that lesson in the most expensive way possible, but I wouldn't change it. My sister wouldn't either. We'd both needed that wake-up call, even if neither of us had known it at the time. If you'd like to see more stories like this, a gentle tap on the subscribe button would mean the world to us.